Huh?
That's good. I hate to hear that ice cream store opened up next door. It could be dangerous. How late are they open?
Till 9.
Oh,
No, we gotta make this quick because I want ice cream.
Meetings and recess.
It closes at 9, guys.
I know. We got it right through this.
That's like an old whip. I like it. I like it. Oh, you know.
I had some in Michigan up there last week. Peanut butter, banana, ice cream.
2-story. Peanut butter banana.
It's in my top 3. Is it the oldest? Frozen at grocery store.
Style.
It's all banana with this little string of peanut butter. Isn't that what Elvis liked? We do like peanut butter banana sandwiches. Yeah, same.
Root beer and banana.
I'm not getting it.
They used to have it
Oh, no shade.
Yes.
That is such a, that is such, oh my God, such an odd dress. Right here, but Tom was like. Really? Hi, sir.
Well, I didn't put up to it because they're all closed. Yeah. And I definitely, and it's so annoying. I'm not used to and yeah. But yesterday morning I was just tired and I found it and I missed something. Like literally. Wow, I took a trip. Well, now I was just like all of us are right. Those things on road. So this is where they're writing, they're changing those weird names. Yeah. You know.
Yeah, you guys ready?
You can't drive some of it, but some big narrows. But then.
I got 7 o'clock.
And then we're. 465, 70.
Jeff, you and Hannah ready? You guys ready?
I'm ready.
I got 7 o'clock. Yeah, like this one, official desk. Just got a phone. Here. Pencils. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to the Town of Pendleton's August Planning Commission meeting. If I could, please, starting to my left, have a roll call, please.
Kyle Eichhorn.
Connie Schultz.
Brad Valentine.
Tim Pritchard,
Carol Hannah.
Jenny Sisson. Cheryl Rainey Hunt.
thank you. We do have a full quorum. If I could, please ask the board to review the minutes submitted on your tablets. Motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Kyle. Do I have
I'll
a second?
that.
Thank you, Brad. All those in favor of approving the minutes as submitted, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Okay, in old business, request to rezone petition 2022-1, State Road 38 parcel ID from Ag 1 to light industrial. Understand you want to request to continue?
Yes, please.
Okay,
There, just to give you some background, there was a lot of information that was provided, a lot of questions, and More Capital has went ahead and hired an engineering firm to give some very detailed information specific to traffic patterns, semi-traffic, all the major issues I think that are around here. And the engineering firm was not able to have anything completed in this short period of time. They have indicated that they should not have a problem to have it ready within a couple of weeks. So we will be able to present that the next meeting.
September.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. Jeff, we just a vote to continue.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll make a motion to continue 2022-1 State Road 38 till the September meeting. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Carol. All those in favor of continuing 2022-1 till September, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
See you September. Okay. Moving forward to new business. 2022-1, request to rezone change from Ag 2 to SF4 residential zoning. This is the commonly referred to as the Bagley property.
So this is 2 parcels, approximately 41 acres. As Tim said, the current zoning is A2, small lot. Keep going. There you go. Proposed rezoning is to SF4 single family. Go to the next slide. We have the concept map. Excuse me. Of approximately 99 lots. There are trails incorporated into the nearby park space to the west, as well as a buffer along 67. The southern parcel is slated just to be there for the Candlewood Drive West extension. And this would allow the subdivision entrance to be off of that collector road. And they are petitioning for a conservation style subdivision. The next 2 slides have examples of their proposed buffer along 67 as well as housing product. They do have a variety of different housing styles, and each one is customizable. These are just a few examples of ones that would fit our parameters as far as product, anti-monotony standards, etc. Excuse me. So as far as our analysis and recommendation, this residential subdivision does fit the general character of the area as far as a allowable use. It will promote connectivity to the park and nature spaces to the west. And residential is a good fit for this area. The entrance from Candlewood Drive West Extension is definitely a safer point of ingress and egress. We are not looking to put any more cuts onto 67, and neither is NDOT. There's a lot of issues with safety. They will have to coordinate with NDOT as far as putting that Candlewood Drive extension, but that's going to be looking in the future. As far as planning analysis, an SF3 zoning might actually be better utilized on this property. As you can tell from the concept plan, it doesn't reflect traditional neighborhood design aspects like rear and side load garages, large front porches, alley system, etc. That should be present in an SF4 zoning. However, because this is a conservation subdivision, we currently don't really have very good density incentives. I think the point was to go for higher density. So I think it could be considered if we have SF3 zoning, but we allow for a higher density like what's in SF4. The only incentive right now with our conservation subdivision, which their concept plan has exceeded the amount of open space required for that conservation subdivision, which is the point. But the only other incentive it has right now is it allows lots as small as 7,000 square feet. So I think we might need to do some reconsidering, but the density is something to consider when coming to the zoning. So I will turn it over to Roush Coleman or Joe Calderon, whoever would like to represent this petition to answer any questions.
Thank you, Hannah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good evening, President
Evening, Joe.
Pritchard, members of the commission, Joe Calderon. I was here a few months ago on a completely different project closer to the interchange for another client, and I'm pleased to be back. One of the things that we did with respect to this project, and I do have Gordon Fritz from Stuppleworth, our engineer, and Ginger Roycebrod from the developer, which is an affiliate of Roush Coleman Homes. They are new to this market, but they're a regional builder of a pretty good scale with the other builders that you may have met with or been presented to before. One of the things that we are pleased that we did was we came in and sat down with your staff pretty early on just to kind of present the product line, things that are important to this builder, which is providing quite a few options in terms of home styles. All of them feature generous brick, and we do feel like this will be very good product for the marketplace here in Pendleton. During our early meetings, it became pretty clear that because all we had was a contract with the partnership property, and the foundation owns the property adjacent across the street from Candlewood. So we had to literally go out and get the rights to acquire that, which we did. And that was a big thing from the town's perspective, was to make sure that we didn't punch a couple more cuts on 67 so close to a collector street. So one of the things we're most proud of is our ability to present to you a plan that does in fact extend Candlewood to the west, and that provides us with our entry. Gordon, you have a larger plan. You guys can see that. I don't know if we want to pull that up, but yeah, this one. And I'm sure that your packets have this. Do you all have this in your packets?
Yes.
So, like I said, the things that we think are important to take advantage of, the location, or providing trails and connectivity, providing that connection there. Our buffer yard, which was we filed, is 80 foot, and we'll have pretty significant landscaping. So we hope that meets with your approval. Beyond that, things that are important to us were to work with the natural features, preserve what we can, and provide connectivity to the beautiful park going to the back to the west. Just so you know, our average lot size will be over 8,000. So even though there are some lots that are in that SF4 7,200, 7,000 with conservation type category, there will be a number of larger lots as well. So our density is going to be in that 2.5 units per acre type of density. And we'll have about 30, it looks like almost 39% open space. So that the layout may look dense, but if you consider the amount of open space, that's exactly what most of the modern UDOs are really emphasizing, to have meaningful areas for folks to get out of their homes, take advantage of areas, amenity areas, natural areas for passive and active recreation, and connect to important public features. In this case, you have a beautiful area just to the west that the folks can easily get to. So we're looking obviously tonight for feedback, and hopefully it's positive and your positive recommendation to the council this evening. Again, we have our engineer here. We have a company representative to answer questions that you may have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. First and foremost question I have is your brick front facades, the other 3 sides will be covered with.
We have some that are on just the front, and then we have some that extend around.
Okay.
By extend around, is that
Brick wrap.
360 degrees?
We have some that go all the way around. I'm not sure exactly in this.
We have a housing product packet in the G drive if you want to take a look at that, but it doesn't show the whole envelope. So
I'll ask it simpler. Are you going to use vinyl siding?
We plan on party plank. That's
Thank
what we
you.
discussed in the meeting.
Thank you. That's the answer I wanted to hear.
What's the total number of lots? Total number of lots.
99.
It's very conceptual.
Now, let me ask the board first,
Yeah,
Joe,
sure.
questions, and then I'll open it up to the
Of
audience.
course.
Questions for Joe, for the board?
What's your typical lot depth that you've got depicted?
These are 140s.
140?
Yeah.
I had a couple other questions.
Go ahead, Phil.
What about, I know we don't necessarily want to improve Candlewood clear to the park, but what about having that right of way extended for the future? I know this is not a primary plat or anything, but just to consider.
I mean, we could consider it being to the parcel line at the
Yeah, I mean,
end.
just take it all the way to the west parcel line down there, just, you
Yeah.
know, in the future to have it dedicated. And you said, I saw somewhere in there, you're gonna commit to ranch only along State Road 67. Is that true? For the homes that back up to 67. Yeah. Okay. And then,
That's what's depicted on the cross section exhibit.
yeah, that's where I saw the note. but
Yeah.
I didn't know if that was gonna be a commitment you would make.
We can make that a commitment.
Have you done any kind of wetland study or anything like that at this point? Because it looks, I mean, if you go to the zoning picture on the slide,
Mhm.
you can see there are like some fingers out there in the field that are existing kind of natural features, and this layout kind of just blows over them. And zooming in on the area, it looks like there's water in there. So, you know, those are riparian buffer zones. And so that's something to consider in the future. So,
I know it's not technically part of that state-owned wetland to the northwest
no,
there,
no, no.
but it might have, yeah, some similar qualities.
And then Who's the property owner to the west?
It's either the park or. South
Foundation,
Madison.
I think.
That's the found, because.
Yeah.
I mean,
To
I
the
assume
west
you
is
have
the
some kind
park.
of a great agreement that'll allow you to build all these trails. You can-
Right, right. That was a town request and we know that. We
So they're
can't just
able to allow you to
trespass,
build
so
those,
yes,
yeah.
yeah.
I think there was discussion of, because I'm pretty sure, and this does, yes, is that dedicated to the park yet?
We haven't made a commitment, but that's the intention.
Yeah, and if they build trails in there, it can count towards park impact fee since it's a level of service fee. So this, while conceptual, you know.
But it sounds like everybody's on board. for
Yeah,
what's shown.
yeah.
Okay.
Your buffering diagram there, it appears that that's gonna be pretty much isolate the road from the homes. Is that your intent? As many
Yes.
bushes and trees you have in there?
Yes.
Okay, that's 50 shrubs, almost per, maybe a lot and a quarter, whatever lot. And the line of sight drawn there, that's always the top of the mound will be possibly the top of the window, looks like. Yeah. Top of the bushes, potentially be the top of the roof.
And in secondary plating phase, we'll have a landscape plan that'll detail
Right.
every, single bush. We'll make sure it's native, good for the area, and has adequate buffering.
And it'll be, this looks like it's pulled out of the UDO, but that's what they'll have to be.
It will have to be,
Yeah.
yes.
What kind of HOA standards do you have?
Insofar as architectural review committee
And what would you allow?
standard, they would be pretty typical for a suburban type subdivision in terms of only single family residential use. All the standards that are required as part of the UDO,
Such as sheds, fences?
outbuildings like that. So I think that, and I don't have the covenants memorized, do we prohibit it? Prohibit fences or require architectural review committee approval for backyard fences and sheds and things like that?
We typically build fences if the customer requests them. And just in response to the question second about the brick, we offer on the front, and if the customer decides that they want it all the way around, we offer specs where they brick all the way around.
And I know this might be cart before horse, but looking at the facades, they're pretty standard. Have you guys thought of anything that would add some additional character? We are a historic town. We boast on that. We like to continue those kind of things, craftsmanship, just things with some architectural flavor. When you see it, you feel like it's got that historic feel to it.
Look at adding that, we have different designs in different states. So we can look at some of our other designs and see if there's more than did that look for you.
Okay.
These are just some options that we are offering. That we felt like would be a good fit.
Donna, do you have any questions?
Do you know how wide the street will be? It's 60 foot, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
60
for the
foot right of
local.
way, 30-foot street,
30-foot curve.
30-foot curve. That's what I'm guessing from this, but 60-foot right of way.
Be the same as Carrick.
From a public safety perspective, there's only one entrance in and out. Has that been reviewed with the town public safety personnel?
As long as there's not cul-de-sacs, they're usually fine with it. There's, they can turn around easily because of that, but this has not gone before them. But we have seen proposals with more than one cut, and our hierarchy does not allow for another cut onto 67. It'd have to be onto a collector street. So unless there was another collector of some sort up here, it's just gonna be, one. But they're happy there's no cul-de-sacs.
Correct.
That's the big thing.
What is the spacing between the homes under SF SF3 and SF4.
They're both 10-foot side setbacks, both minimal. And 25 in the rear.
Was there thought of any shared spaces? We've done that previously.
How do you mean?
Shared spaces such as the shelter area, a play area.
I mean, we could definitely consider that in a lot of these spaces, maybe somewhere near where the trail is in that northwest corner. That can definitely be considered in the primary phase. There's potential for it.
Yeah, there should be room there, you know, we want to preserve as much of the natural landscape that we can, but it would not be unusual to put in some amenity areas.
Okay.
That would show up when we get to plating.
Carol?
I don't have anything right now. I mean, I look back at our notes when we had a proposal on this a couple years ago, and really most of the issues we had at that time have been addressed. Plus, we've got a UDO now, and we didn't have it back then.
Right.
I am a little concerned about only having that one entrance as well. I'm wondering if there's some way to just, well, I don't know. Can't go on to 67 if it really.
Farther north we go, it gets more dangerous.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm glad that it butts up with Candlewood now. That I think that intersection is going to be a concern, but.
We feel
it's
that
dangerous.
really improves safety all the way
Yeah.
around because you've got all of the individual driveway cuts on the other side. So adding another entrance up there could create some
Mhm.
pretty significant conflicts.
Yeah.
If public safety said, hey, we'd like, you know, some sort of emergency access, we could talk about that at planning. And that's not unheard of, you know, in a scenario like this.
And I would like to have the option of being able to connect with the driveway going to the park at some
Okay.
point, if that's in the future, but not to close that door.
I think that was in their original intent. They got an option on the ground. Cheryl?
No question.
Questions? Any questions from the audience, anybody in the audience? Comments? Julie?
So I'm Julie Schnepp, owner of Remax Legacy. I do represent the seller of this land, so I just want to kind of put that out there too. But as a realtor perspective in the community, with all these new neighborhoods being built, the one thing that I love about this project is all these neighborhoods are so big, and we don't ever really get a sense of community in these 800 home neighborhoods. So I love the projects where we're gonna be kind of like Silverthorne out there, or we're kind of a smaller project and we can kind of build community within our community. I think that is, I hope we see more of that instead of more of the 800, you know, houses, and then nobody really knows each other and all that. And the thing I really liked with 67 when I was first hearing about it, I really didn't want to see houses facing 67. And I like how you did the buffer, and everything is kind of in the community. In talking with everyone involved in this, including Scott Reske, the way we're trying to take this community and gear it towards the park, along with what the foundation may be doing with working with the park on the other property. I feel like it's just a perfect fit to go into that ballpark. So I like the houses they're building. If there's landowners around there, just to the side of it, or across the street. When we did the Carrot Glen project, the Pines at Deerfield people were really afraid it's gonna really hurt our property value. And some of us really didn't know. I mean, we can tell someone your property value is not gonna be affected, but until we do something, how do we really tell somebody? But what we saw was, as I kind of predicted, Carrot Glen sold out twice as fast as they thought it was going to. And Pines at Deerfield sold higher than anyone could have ever expected. So it did not hurt that neighborhood. It actually brought their values up, which was, we didn't know, we weren't really sure about that. So I really think for everyone that lives on 67, which really, it's not a big piece of land across from them. I know there's a house beside it, some houses there. What we have seen historically recently is that it has raised values of the people around it, so. Any other questions or things?
Thank you, Joe.
I do have another question. It appears there's only one access in the northwest corner to the trail system. Have you considered putting in a second access so that everyone mid-development and can have access down to the retention pond area and then ultimately the trails?
Very steep in there.
South end, maybe.
Possibly down to the south, which I think, well, on the plan, it's got a path going all the way.
Okay.
It's there. So those big issues like public, ADA ramp, certain stairs.
The whole property is really like a big V. Your proposed
So what's it,
retention
like a
pond, and
half-
it just all goes down through that.
yeah,
too
is it
steep.
like a half mile from north to south? Is that, I mean, I'm just thinking how far, what the distance really is, someone would have to walk.
Quarter
out
mile.
of work. So if you're walking, that shouldn't be a problem.
Can't make it Nate to go out. Stay home.
Stay home.
Any other comments or questions from anybody in the audience?
Yeah.
Gary? No?
Sorry, Gary.
I can be loud. Gary Brammer, 6228 Foster Branch Drive. Just a couple of things real quick. I guess I'm concerned that of the street to the park or a road to the
We're
park.
not putting the street through the park.
Okay, so it wouldn't be a shortcut to town.
No, if anything, it would be a path.
Okay.
that They could get from the subdivision down to the park. We don't have intention to put a road through the park.
Okay, and the park would still belong to the town. The town would become part. I mean, the park would become part of this neighborhood.
Correct,
So they wouldn't overrun our park.
correct.
Okay. That was it.
Just trying to provide connectivity.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Any questions or comments from the board, staff?
Has there been any discussion with the school corporation? You know,
We just talked about that today in one of our meetings. The school, the superintendent had just provided a document and the meeting I was in with Main Street PBA and Scott Rescue today. The superintendent, I can forward you what they sent, is saying we're not overran at all. We're not worried at all. We do have 450 transfer students. And last I heard, Mr. Lord may know more than I do, but last I heard, we had about a 20% still capacity, plus we had 450 additional transfer students. That's what we heard. The document that Mr. Hall had sent said they're not in any kind of a crisis situation. I actually thought the numbers looked a little too generous. I think you're in a little tighter situation than this actually shows. But from the document that was sent, they're not showing a crisis, although I think it's probably a little bit closer, but we're still 450 or somewhere around there transfer students.
so they're saying they just deny transfers to make sure.
I don't represent the school, but it would make sense that if we have 450 transfer students, that if we have capacity, that would maybe be an option that they would quit taking transfer students.
Is that procedure, John? If the school starts getting too full, you push back the transfers? That hasn't been done yet.
So 20%, is that 800? I mean, what's 20?
2.5 years ago, when Joe was superintendent, they were at 70%. We did Cary Glenn. We were worried about the schools then. Joe said we're at 70% and had classrooms open in every building.
And I know also the junior high was built for expansion, so we know we have room there, but we're not there. I just talked with the principal of the junior high and they're not capacity crunching. And we're talking 99 homes here. And if you had 1 or 1.5 students per home, it's not.
Fair enough.
Yeah, online comments.
Okay. Stephanie?
Yeah, there's someone on there. Said she wants to talk. Rachel. Yeah.
All right, Rachel.
All right. Yeah. Rachel, we're gonna promote you to panelist so you can speak.
Else to talk to be the current teacher in the school to start communicating about students. One thing for things.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
You're on, Rach.
Awesome. So first time caller, long time listener.
Funny.
Hi, everyone. Of course, I have comments or questions. With Candlewood Drive, one thing I would like to just suggest or throw out there is that, the current entrance to the sports complex off of Falls Park Drive is one that is going to be very difficult for the town to improve upon in the future. So, I guess Huntsville Road, Fall Creek Drive is not functionally classified, meaning that our town is never going to get federal aid dollars to do road improvements on that road. And I think we do really seriously need to consider having a new entrance to the sports complex off of State Road 67. One thing that could be considered as part of this project, maybe not necessarily pushing this on the developer side, but the town working with the developer to extend that road all the way to Falls Park and potentially closing the entrance or having it as emergency ingress egress only, that entrance that's off of the current Falls Park Drive. So I just wanted to throw that out for consideration that, for us really to have a sports complex that is more highly visible from large traffic corridors, we have the perfect opportunity to have that off of State Road 67. And that does help solve some of our transportation problems off of Fall Creek Drive. The other comment I wanted to make or ask about is the Candlewood Drive extension. This would be a collector road. Do we have, I guess the way that it's drawn, I know it probably isn't exactly the scale, but I'm curious what the cross section, what the width would be of the road with it being a collector road. And then is there enough right of way being dedicated for that roadway that would be going all the way back to the park? Because that, I guess the parcels that are going to the south, that most southern parcel that's being shown on the site plan, it just looks much further south than I think I anticipated. So I just want to make sure that we're protecting our right-of-way corridor, our future right-of-way corridor, and we're making sure that we're planning for the amenities that we would want in that road that would eventually go to the park.
Maybe you'd like to comment on a
Yeah.
decel lane there?
Next currently says we did anticipate it going like the west is currently just so big road there. We need to extend that, make it wider to a collector road.
I'm not able to hear what the response is on the road discussion.
Yeah, currently it's just a local road, 64 right of way. We didn't anticipate it going all the way to the west, but if it does, if that's what is looked at, then we can expand that to a collector sized road and give the proper right of way.
Yeah.
At scaled right now, it is 60 feet, like I said, because we didn't expect to go any further than enter the subdivision.
I think we just want to make sure that we get the right of way dedicated all the way to the parcel line. We wouldn't necessarily put it on you to build the road, I don't think.
Right.
So this right now is just, I'm not sure off the top of my head what a collector right of way width is. I mean, I know it's more than 60, but I can't quite remember. But I think you have enough room, yeah. in here to
If
shift
it needs to
things
go to
around.
70 or whatever the collector road.
Yeah.
Right of way is required, then we can move that much.
Well, I think several of us have commented about, we'd like to see that possibility at some point, so we don't want to lose that option.
And I know we also discussed about this path being, I know this is just a concept, but being somewhere out of the way, so we wouldn't have to rip it up to put a road down and then relay the asphalt trail.
Right.
So again, just small things in the concept.
Well, and I think too, do we want, I guess, as a community, is this how we are envisioning a road going to a future entrance to Falls Park? Do we want it a 2-lane road that goes back there, a one way each way going back to the sports complex? Do we need to plan for a median that has signage that says, you know, Falls Park Sports Complex? Like, I think this is our time. If we want those things to be included in that road design, we should be incorporating that into this project, even if it is the town partnering with, you know, the developer on putting that infrastructure piece in, so that when we are ready to open that up, then we can put in a future entrance sign or whatever it is that we want to go back to the park.
Rachel, we've had internal communications on this subject in the past. It's really not the intent to have a road go into the park from this direction. We're scared to death of the traffic that would flow through there. It would become a shortcut, cut through, etc. However, there is discussion about maybe making that just a one-way exit and get the traffic off Huntsville Road from the sports complex to come up through there. So your comment about the road is well taken, but I don't at this point see a 2-way or major road being developed in there.
I mean, the solution would be to cut access from the existing entrance is how you solve the cut through problem.
Well, that or make Huntsville Road one-way east. But that's down the road.
Oh, yeah, I think we just want to make note that.
As long as we get the right of way dedicated for the roadway, that's all we need to do. And they're willing to do that. Yep. Okay. Any other comments, Rachel?
No, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you. You can bill us for your time. We won't pay you, but you can bill us.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any comments or questions? Is there anybody else online?
So I had a quick procedural question. They've requested SF4. We can provide a recommendation on SF3, even though the petition was for SF4. Does that matter?
No, we can do SF4, but put a condition on there that they has to meet the SF3 on density. Is that?
No, flip
Other
flop.
way
So they're asking for SF4, from what I can tell, mostly just because it allows a higher density. The neighborhood style that they have fits SF3, but SF3 has a lower density. So
So
Could
it's
they-
just for density.
it's just for density. It's not for looks.
So it'd be a condition, but you can't grant a different zoning classification than what was noticed. But you can add conditions to the requested zoning classification such that one part of that meets or is identical to
You wouldn't
another.
have to, because I mean, they
Well,
could
they've
just,
requested SF4, so
Right.
that's what we have to provide a
Correct.
recommendation. on.
Yes,
That's right.
Correct. So
That's
we
right.
can't do the SF3 with the higher density.
correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
You would just be knowing that this does not, you authorize the rezone without it having to meet the TND, the traditional neighborhood design standards, which is fine. You can do that. It doesn't have to. It just says where appropriate. So, but that's what the look of the SF4 is going for.
One other, so SF4 allows 2-family and multifamily. you're intending only doing single family detached.
Correct.
No duplexes.
Yeah.
So
We can commit to that.
commit to single family detached. Okay.
Yeah, questions, comments? Okay, hearing none, I'll open the floor up for motions.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve PC 07, oops, 0803 2022-01. Request and zoning change from A2 to S4 for the parcels listed.
We just need to say it's just to SF4 requirements.
Do you need to list their conditions?
I have a little list, Carol, after you make your motion, we can cover.
Okay,
commitments.
that would be helpful, unless you want to make the motion.
Well, so here's, if we want to jot down the list. So ranch, almost 67. 99 units. Are you okay to commit to a 99 unit cap?
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Single family detached only. 140-foot lot depth for the, we're okay with the 140-foot lot depth. Based on the rendering. Is that? Yeah. Extend the right of way, not necessarily the road, just the right of way to west boundary.
Correct.
And which right of way do we want defined? Because right now,
Well, that'll probably come during
That'll
primary
come during
plat.
primary.
Well,
It's- it's-
primary
it's a
plat,
collector.
the Counterwood extension.
Yeah.
It
So
would
we
have
just,
to be a collector size right of way.
that's more of a primary plat item, but that's all I have. Is there any other?
The shared area kind of near that north.
I think they'll put some amenities on the primary plat and return.
Amenity areas.
Well, and the foundation also had a couple recommendations that they would like to, conditions to ensure that a development plan that includes the foundation parcel includes appropriate and publicly accessible connectivity between the park and the public thoroughfares, and to limit only one road cutoff on State Road 67. Yeah, which we have.
I would also recommend the commitment to the conservation subdivision. If that's okay with you, Joe.
Have we designed to that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. and
I
you've already-
just want to make sure
yeah,
that we
You've exceeded
Yeah,
the amount of required
just want
open
to make sure
space by
my engineer
10%.
doesn't
but-
kill me.
There's that.
And then will we see some different architectural facades as well?
Oh, there was a no vinyl commitment as well.
Yeah, hardy plank for siding.
Yeah.
Just some more features.
I think Junior committed to some new, different plans.
Okay.
Additional plan.
Thank you.
So Joe, are you okay with these things that you mentioned as commitments, or do we have to have any of those in there?
No, I'll write them up and just like we
Just
did
like
on the
last time?
last one, get it to you.
Okay.
So that seemed to work well, makes everybody comfortable.
Excellent.
All right. Thank you, Carol. I have a motion. Do I have a second? All right. All those in favor of approving 2022-1 from A2 to SF1 with the noted conditions, and I'm sorry, SF4, the noted conditions as presented, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the community.
Appreciate it.
Got the council meeting next Thursday, so
So, okay.
they generally require stuff in front of them by Monday. So I guess what you're.
Plenty of time.
Business Monday?
Yes.
Okay. Moving forward, review and vote on possible UDO amendments.
All right, if you want to pull up the UDO amendments on your iPad for August 2022. Please don't hate me. I have a whole lot of them.
If anybody wants to exit, they can. I'll give you a minute.
Yeah.
You have an hour and 15 minutes, right?
Yeah, I gotta get my ice cream. so.
No, you've got about an hour. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joe.
Should we open the spreadsheet? Is that where this is at?
Yes. Yes, that will make it much easier for us to go just line by line.
Golly.
So we're gonna review these and say yay or nay, is that the?
Yeah, or any comments, and then we'll adopt them as a whole, right?
That's fine.
We could do it one by one.
Like, if I vote, I think last time we've gone through and anything we want edited, we do that, and then we accept them as a whole.
You could, if you
or-
had, the only thing I'm thinking, if there's a disagreement.
Oh,
We'll
okay.
never disagree.
These are not ground earth shattering amendments by any
All right,
means.
you think they're gonna?
I think they'll be fine.
Okay.
First one is our HPC design guidelines for the historic districts. I would like to reference that in the UDO, either by an appendix or a link to the website. So that's the first one.
Fine.
Any issues with that? Okay. Scrivener's error is the next one, talking about parking lot perimeter buffers. It says 10 foot before and after the sentence. It's just a 10 foot buffer.
Right.
Landscaping spelled wrong too. I don't know if that's a. copy paste.
That's my, that's not directly copy and pasted from the UDO. So just removing the second or the first 10 foot buffer. So there's only once. Mix of approved exterior materials. This states that planning commission can approve these during development plan review. Those no longer go through planning commission. Those are done by the planning department. So that language needs to reflect that. Good?
Yep.
Okay. Parking in front, we reference highway business when it talks about how much parking you can have in front. We don't have highway business. We have heavy business, HB. Scrivener's error. Two-family zoning is referenced, or TF is referenced in our temporary and permanent signage guidelines. We have those guidelines for all districts except RC. So I think it was an error. That's an old zoning code. We don't have TF anymore. And RC does not have any signage parameters. So I'm pretty sure that's what that was supposed to reference. That's all right. Okay. Scott Reski would like us to add a section to construction and development to get a set of digital as-builds submitted for all public infrastructure that must be survey accurate. Usually we get those, but we just want to have language that says they have to give them to us.
Do you have specifics or you didn't, I mean,
Just no, I think usually what we get is pretty good. I haven't heard any complaints about the formatting. Just that we.
as long as they're on a coordinate system.
Yeah, survey accurate, yep, so. Parking surfaces, we have not an entire inclusive list, but it lists things like sand, grass, and dirt are not acceptable off-street parking. I think we should just add gravel to that. While this isn't a full list, it might just make things very clear that if you're making a parking lot, you can't use gravel or dirt or sand.
Use crushed stuff.
Let's use the word stone. 'Cause
Crushed stone,
Stone,
okay,
gravel can be,
Gravel's a natural product.
gravel's
okay.
round, crushed stone is angular.
Okay, so just instead of gravel, put stone as a prohibited off-street parking surface. Okay. Landscape islands and bump outs, we have one part of the UDO says every 15 spaces, there will be a landscape island or bump out, and then another section says 10 spaces. Which one do you want, 10 or 15? 10, okay, that's fine. Accessory dwellings, we allow accessory dwellings or ADUs by right in rural res and SF1, by conditional use in SF2 and SF3. I think we should probably add as a conditional use in SF4 and RC. We have a lot of, I did some measurements on GIS. We have a lot of places that could already qualify to have ADUs in a garage, like a mother-in-law's suite, something like that. So while it would still be conditional use, they at least have the go-ahead to petition to do that. So I think we should probably add that to the matrix at the end of the UDO. Good, okay.
Why the maximum 800 square feet?
I'm not sure. That's just what it has in there. It's 220 minimum, 800 maximum. I think it's because, is that the typical size of a garage, like a detached or garage?
You just do 20-foot ceilings.
24 by 30. So
That I know, that I do not know. That's just how it's listed in there.
Well, if it's bigger than 800, it's starting to look like,
You get a variance if it's,
yeah.
or you can request it. It becomes dominant to the primary structure if it gets too big.
Right.
To be a primary structure or to make an accessory, we can build a garage. Add an accessory dwelling.
No, you'd have to have your primary residence and it has to be bigger than your ADU. But it, yeah, it's just usually a detached garage of some sort.
I say keep it at 800 for now.
Yeah. But are you okay with adding that as conditional use to SF4 and RC? Okay. And we might review those if you guys ever want to find that you would like to permit by right in more zones than just RR and SF1. In the G drive, I put some accessory solar on local historic districts. I found these, I think it was somewhere from DNR or something like that. But there's some just additional accessory standards or standards for accessory solar for historic buildings that they recommended. So I think we can probably put those in and just state that anything that has RC zoning or is within a local historic district has to abide by these additional guidelines as well, and remove the conditional use only and allow it by right like every other district that we have. So they're pretty standard. Some of it is stuff that we've already stated in our accessory solar parameters. But there are a few extra things in there, just, you know.
Anything that stands out that you think it might.
No, because it talks about like maintaining the facade, putting things behind like, you know, like roof bump outs and things like that so that it doesn't affect the front facade of the building, which has typically got all the historic features on it. As well as, which is one we already require, that the roof is structurally sound enough to hold the weight of a solar panel. Because older buildings might not have that ability. And I think using maybe certain materials to shield in some way. I haven't looked at it in a while, but I pretty much just copied and pasted it from
Looks
whatever.
like stuff we've talked about before.
Yeah, there might be
At least
some overlap, so I'll eliminate any overlap. That apply.
There's a lot of should be, so you don't really have to follow them, then, right? If they just say should instead of shall.
I can change them all to shall.
Yeah, otherwise it's
Yeah.
optional, like, oh, it would be good, but it's okay.
I will. You should.
Good point.
Yeah.
No, good catch. Yeah, I can change all the shoulds to shalls. And I will definitely do that. Anything else on that one?
So that'll be a standalone document that's referenced in the UDO.
I can just add it in as a
Okay, as a
section.
section, okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's not so big. It needs to be its own appendix. Okay. Next one, fencing materials. Currently, we only have prohibitations on razor, barbed, and electric fence materials. I do think we should add plywood and OSB, just because if you try and use that, water is going to get into it and it's instantly going to become a nuisance. So I think that maybe should be something on there unless it's like temporary, or this says unless it's being used for anything non-agricultural. So I don't know if that would be something a farmer would use at any point, but those just really aren't good standard fence materials. Site development plan review, our UDO states that that site development plan review is required for the development or modification of property for uses other than ag, single family and two family. We need to add multifamily to that list because that doesn't go through site development review. It goes through primary and secondary platting. It's a major subdivision style. The only thing really that typically goes through site development is more commercial and industrial uses. If it's just, one parcel or a few parcels like the Starbucks bank over there, that's going through site development. That's a commercial lot. But multifamily does not go through site development. Okay. All right. So the next, all the rest of these are for signage. So our signage was kind of a little bit backwards. Things were referencing wrong tables and whatnot. So I put together a sign example sheet in your G Drive. Those are the kinds of signs that we have described, as well as some that kind of have described. So I would like to add that as an appendix, just so people know exactly what we're talking about when we mean like suspended sign, swing sign, projecting sign, all that good stuff.
Quick question.
Sure.
So it says a post sign has 2 or more posts. So what if it has 1 post?
Pole sign.
Oh.
Don't allow those.
And that's defined in there.
Well, that's one thing we're gonna add. We're gonna get there. So I will either add that into the UDO or as an appendix. Something in all of our tables for signage references a board of works. We do not have a board of works. This is in reference to allow signage into the right of way. We also don't allow that except for downtown. Projecting signs typically go into the right of way because the parcel line is at the face of the building. That's the only time we allow it. But regardless, we don't have a board of works, so that needs to be removed. Okay, next two are definitions. What's in the tables does not match our definition section for quite a few of these. So the first one is projecting signs, so I just have updated those. The next one is suspended to match the definition to match the table. So it's this projecting sign is the ones we see typically downtown. They're on the arm that comes out of the building. A suspended sign is something from the underside of the building, like an awning or something like that, hangs down off of chains. Any issues with those two? Definitions. Our definition for suspended sign reflects a swing sign. So we need to update the tables to reflect swing signs. These are typically ones that are just like on a pole in the ground and they have a little swinging something on there. You can see it in the examples. They're typically pretty small, but the way that they're described in the tables, it's not a suspended sign, it's a swinging sign. So updating that. I would like to remove the definition of canopy sign from the definitions. We don't use it anywhere. It's the same thing essentially as an awning sign anyway. No need to have extra definitions in there that aren't being utilized.
What do we have for someone who wants to just put up an awning?
We have an awning sign. Yeah, we have a definition for that.
Okay. And
a table. We have no definition for post sign, Kyle. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. Sign with 2 or more post columns or vertical structures. Supports a sign face that is typically double-sided.
So where do historic markers fall into that? Are historic markers considered?
I guess those are an
signs?
exception because those are technically pole signs because they're only on one pole.
That's why I was bringing it up.
We could write an exception being historic signs if you want. Because there's a prohibition on pole signs in this UDO. It says no pole signs of any sort.
I mean, those are a standard issue through the
Yeah.
Historic Society.
Yeah.
The state,
I can put,
and actually federal has those too, so I
yeah,
would just pull that into the definition, so you know specifically
Yeah.
it's a state or federal
yeah.
You can exempt
issue.
governmental organizations.
Exempt, yeah, I'll put it in the prohibition where it says that pole signs are prohibited except for governmental organizations.
That would cover the signs that the town has put in that are
Yes.
pole signs today with
Yes.
historic references.
Yes,
But this says pole signs are 20 to 80 feet tall, so if you have an 18-foot tall pole sign, then it's okay.
this says typical. We don't have to include the heights.
Okay.
We definitely don't have
And
to, but that's just,
It says welded, so if it's bolted. then it's okay. I mean, it's too specific. in
okay,
definition.
yeah, we'll
Maybe
just,
we need to
we'll make it less
generalize
specific.
it a little bit.
Generalize,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, I can do that. Is that, where's that? Let's see, changing allowance height from the ground for post signs. The examples I have in there are about a 2-foot clearance so that you can put plantings in front and it doesn't obscure the signage itself. We have 18 currently. I think 24 would be a better range that as the maximum. So if someone wants to go smaller, they can. But that allows for plantings, which are typical of post signs.
This is more homework for you. Regarding lighting and signs.
Yeah,
Are you good with what's there, or is that something we probably should look at?
I'll
as
take a look
well?
at it, but I'm pretty good with it. I know that we have like, lumens and standards on that. And then as far as downtown, the historic stuff, they're not allowed to have anything illuminated. They have their own separate kind of set of rules. when
I'm
it comes to
thinking more with the
illumination.
additions,
Mhm.
with the bigger signs.
Yeah,
Just
I'll
making
check
sure that's
into it.
worded in a way so it's not
Sure.
illuminating.
Yeah, I think it's probably in the lighting section. I think there is a section for specifically signage and making sure it doesn't do just that.
I just forget since it's 300 pages.
Yeah, I know. I pretty much breathe that document, so I should know it by now. Okay. Let's see. New suspended sign parameters to any district that allows projecting signs. So I've got some new, because we don't have anything in tables for actual suspended signs. What our tables represent right now are swing signs. So I would like to add suspended signs to the 319, 320, and 321 tables. These are just the small ones that go underneath an awning. Across the street, they have some at the Tuxedo in the flower shop. They hang down. They have to be at least 8.5 feet in the air so nobody bonks their head. They can't be ginormous. I think I have, let's see, 18 by 36 maximum. And then no EVMS components are permitted. Okay. And then lastly, Kyle, I think this is the one you were talking about. We need to separate ground sign from pole sign and have a more generic definition for poles. What would you suggest? What would you like?
I can email you.
Okay.
This is okay, it just takes some of the specifics. out of
Yeah,
it
so
that-
like the 20 and
so
80
you can't work
welded.
Yeah.
So a freestanding sign that's staged on a pole, sometimes referred to as a pylon sign. Pretty basic.
That sounds fine.
Okay. Okay. Wow, we did that quick. That's all I got. 25 amendments later. So do they just vote on those as a whole now?
They can vote as described.
As described, okay.
Any other comments or questions on the UDO amendments? I'll make a motion, we approve the UDO amendments as presented tonight with any additional changes or comments that will be included. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kyle. A motion is second. All those in favor of the vote on the UDO amendments as presented and noted, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. Okay. And the PC rules?
So we're still working on that, but we needed to update our rules. We referenced our old code, and we also didn't reference the planning commission's power to approve primary plats. So Jeff and I are working together to get those most up to date. We'll have them ready by next month. But that's just something you guys vote on. It doesn't have to go through any other body. So I will have a draft for that on your G Drive. I'll shoot out an email when it's ready and you can review it and make any comments for us before we present it next month.
Thank you, Anna.
Mhm.
Any further comments or questions from the board or any audience?
I just a couple things to shore up. Follow up from projects. I know that when we put the roads in, we did all that road work on Water Street, Franklin Street, just going in, backfilling with the dirt and planting grass. I know it's, there was some delay. I don't know if they had gone back and we did something, but it's not filled in. So then whatever's growing is just random.
And that's
And
Franklin
then-
Street.
Franklin has some and so does Water Street.
Water.
So just my thing is when we have these projects, someone signing off, like we paid you this money, we're good with the product here. I feel like we need to come full circle with some of those things.
Something happened on Franklin Street because they had it planted in straw and they come up and they dug it up and done it again,
Yep.
and dug it up again.
And I think that was with the utility, correct?
Our street department is going to take care of
Okay.
it. I don't know about water. I know there are some lawn care concerns there that they addressed, but I can let them know that it looks like they need some more soil as
It's
well.
down near that storage facility.
Okay.
And then something I've talked to him about, because I've had some other questions recently, just, I like to walk later at night when it's this hot. And I've noticed some of our streets are extremely dark. I don't like dark streets. That leads to nothing but bad. So I think those are things that we need to have an eye for detail on in our community. I can map out the ones that I see. But again, I don't know if, I need to go back. I don't know if there's just not adequate lighting or if it's just burnt out and no one's been made aware. But those kind of things, and I know you don't work at nighttime, but we need to stay on top of different things, even if it's a maintenance check, a periodic maintenance once a year, going back through various things that keep our community nice. And people enjoy those things. That is a safety piece there. And
We're
then,
actually, I'm sorry.
go ahead. No.
Yeah, we're having, we have a Trimble GPS system that works with our GIS software. And we're getting kind of like our final tutorial on it tomorrow. So we can use that and go out and mark where there's not adequate lighting with that system.
Okay.
So that's something that's brand new. We just got it and are learning it. And trying to get it to interface with our desktops here. But that's definitely something we can utilize that tool for, is marking where there's inadequate lighting.
And do we do periodic maintenance on it and have a rotation as far as roads, sidewalks, just having an eye on those things? Some things, the products are bad and might deteriorate more quickly based on the concrete used,
Yeah.
which we are hearing about in these rapid growing times. So just, it's something to think about.
Yeah.
When you go back to the office. But it's been on my mind because I walk everywhere and these are the things that I observe.
Yeah.
But I definitely want, if we're paying anyone, to make sure we've done that final check and are solid with what we've done.
It's probably something you should talk with Rusty about. The sidewalks and the lights, my department can probably take care of a little bit more, but like your plantings and checkoffs and streets and
Yeah.
curbs and things like that, that's probably much more his department where he can tell you that he's doing those things or not, or his department heads. Yeah.
And then my last one is, I know we can't control anything outside of our boundaries. I think a lot of people are confused on that, what the town of Pendleton is versus Pendleton address.
Yes.
And as we keep growing around us, do we have any synergies with the other communities? Are we talking to LaPel? Are we talking to Ingalls? Are we having some open discussions? So I know, again, we can only control us. And everyone might have different thoughts on their community, but just something, some kind of forum, everyone getting together and brainstorming on how things are gonna flow. I mean, I want big picture, not just us working in our own silo.
I actually have a meeting with the Ingalls Planning Director, Neil Stevenson, and he's invited a few people from around the local areas to do just that. We have that next week, so that we can all kind of do something maybe quarterly or biannually, something like that, where we get together and kind of talk about those big picture things and development and utilities and things.
What about the Madison County group? Because Madison
Yeah, I've
County
got an
seems to control
engineer.
the lion's share.
Yeah, I've got an engineer from there coming.
They're between everybody.
Mhm.
Because this is really a prime opportunity to do something that most communities don't do, work with each other.
Right.
I mean, we are South Madison County, and we work together in so many other ways. We need to get ahead of this and kind of be trailblazers.
Gotta be careful, because a lot of the other communities like to sneak up on us. Annex this, annex that.
And that's why we,
You don't want to show your cards.
as far as some standards, you know, so that it doesn't look
Comments?
fragmented.
Yeah, questions, comments? Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it. Meeting adjourned.
Territorial for the county. They get this-
I
they
didn't
get
show my
permanent.
cards.